In today's video, I'm walking you through every single database view inside Notion. I'm gonna share which views are great for specific types of information that you want to organize, and then I'm gonna give you a peek inside my own personal workspace to show you how I've used each view. You might be used to seeing your data in a Notion table or in a list, but Notion actually gives you 8 different types of views to be able to organize and look at your information in those different ways. And with the recent addition of Feed View, there is more flexibility than ever before. If you've ever wondered which view is perfect for your specific setup, then this should help clear things up. But first, if you're new here, my name is Kalyn and I share practical Notion tips to help you get the most out of your digital workspace. If you love those types of videos, Notion tutorials, and build with me's, and even just general talk about productivity, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and that will help us become official online besties. Databases are really foundational to Notion because without them, you're just basically looking at a blank page. So when you want to make lists or save certain information, you might as well just do it in something like Google Docs or Apple Notes. But databases is what makes Notion so powerful because it provides a framework for that information. And with that framework, you can also add context to each of the items in your database via Notion properties. Now, as you can see over here on the settings icon, and when I click layout, Notion, like I said before, it gives you 8 different views to be able to organize your information in different ways. And we're gonna go through each of these, but let's start with the first and most common one, and that is table view. This spreadsheet-like view is the one that is most familiar to us because I would say that most of us have worked with Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. So we know the rows and columns and what they look like and basically how it functions. You can see here that every single row in this table view database is going to be a Notion page that you can open up and add notes to and add more properties, again, that context we were talking about, and then each column is going to be a Notion property. Table view is really best for the information that you want to see in more of like a structured, just table-like way, as its namesake. Mostly if you have a lot of different properties that you want to reference while you're looking at the database item. So for example, over here in my vet visit log, I want to see a lot of different information in one glance. So under my dog Trinity's little tab here, I've got the date of when she went to the vet, the reason the vet that we went to, and because we travel full time. This list is so long. She's been seen all over the country as well as my rabbit. The cost of the visit, the weight that she had at that visit, any documents like receipts or CT scans or anything that I need to save, and then any notes as to what was the reason for her going into that vet visit. So I want to see all that information without needing to open up the page and do that extra click. Another example of table view that I use is in my travel planner. So in a specific destination that I'm going to, like Big Bend National Park, actually I went to this last spring, I can scroll down here and I have an activities list. So I'm making a list of everything that I want to do in Big Bend National Park, from like scenic drives, historic sites, to hiking trails. And I want to see at a glance how long that's going to take so that when I do my planning, I know, okay, what's a quick 1 to 2 hour activity, what's a half day activity, what's a full day activity, so that I can make sure when I add the dates in here of when we're doing those activities, I'm not planning like 2 full day activities into cramming them into one day, like maybe 1 half day activity and 1 quick activity. And then I've also have a property here, a select property of prioritizing, because there's only so much you can do in a destination. So I want to know what are my absolute must-do activities and what do I want to do that's like maybe nice to get done or if there's time. For all of these views, there are ways to customize it to your liking, and to be able to find that, you do the settings icon, you'll click on layout to where you see all of those different views, and then it will give you some options underneath to toggle on like the show database title. This ends up on every single view. For table view specifically, you can toggle off those vertical lines if you maybe didn't want to see them. You can toggle off the page icon if you wanted it to be a little bit cleaner. And the one that I really love is wrap all columns. So for instance, if I have notes that are like 3 paragraphs long and I want to see all of those, then I can toggle that on to wrap the column. The other 2 are self-explanatory and are going to be on different views. Basically, how do you want to open the page, side peek, center peek, or full page when you open it up? And what is your load limit? Do you want to have a max of 50? Do you want 25? Do you want 10? Generally, I stick with like 10 to 25 because I don't want this whole long list of table view that is very overwhelming for me to see all that information. Let's move on now to the next view, which is the board view. And this is a Kanban board. And if you've ever used Trello, then you know exactly what it looks like and exactly what I'm talking about. And this is more for like visual stages of a workflow. That's exactly what I have here on my personal dashboard. First, in terms of the task explanation or example, I have a to-do in progress and complete section here in that board view. And it's really nice to be able to see like how much I've done for the day, because over on my regular daily list, when I click something off, it disappears. It goes away because I have it filtered to anything that is not done. But when I click on this little board view section, then I can see what I've already done for the day and what I have in progress. And actually I'm filming this video, so I am putting that in progress. Now, I just want to mention something as a side note. I've had some questions about people who are confused as to why there is a little dash and a colored blue box next to their task that's not complete yet. That simply means that the status is in progress. So it's not completely unchecked, but it's not completely checked either. As my next example on the content creation schedule that I was talking about, I have here each piece of content. It goes from the planning stage to, if it's specifically a video filming, if it's a newsletter or blog post, it goes under writing, then it goes to the editing phase, then ready to go and scheduled. And you can easily drag and drop in between these columns, which is what makes board view so awesome for these specific use cases. There are some ways to customize board view that are different than table view. So if you go into that settings and layout again, you can see that you could have a card preview if you wanted. Now I have this set to media. So in my media property here, if I had something there, it would show. I don't currently right now, but if I had something for like the thumbnail for this video that I was filming already done, then it would be showing, just for something a little bit more visual aesthetic. You can also change the card size from small, medium, and large. You can fit the image into where it's not taking up the whole space. You can show the page icon like the others. You can also wrap all properties. You can group by something different. So this is how you're getting that board view. You're actually grouping by a status or by some other select type property or multi-select property. And you can also color columns, which is kind of fun. If you want something to be super colorful in your workspace, you can color columns. If you wanted something that was a little less colorful, let me just show you over here on my meal planner page. So what I've done here is I have made every single kind of meal that you're having. I don't know why I'm blanking out about this, but I have it all as the brown color so that when I colored those columns, it was all brown and it wasn't like just multiple colors, because sometimes I feel like that's a little bit too much. We just want like a little bit of color, not multicolors. But maybe you want a really colorful workspace, and you can totally do that. And I feel like we're getting way off track. So let's go back into our views and go to the timeline view next, which I'm just gonna be honest, guys, this is not my favorite. I don't use it. I don't love it. It doesn't work with my brain, but it's one of the 8 views, so we're gonna go over it anyway. So timeline view displays items along exactly what it is, a timeline view. So this is specifically for things that have start and end dates. So if you have watched my 6-week sprint planning system and you've picked up the template, you know that every single goal in there has a start and end date so that you can basically have it within the 6 weeks. I'll show you how I have attempted to use it, but it has not stuck. So I'm gonna go into my revamp Notion community sprint that I've been working on. And this was just, I had a few things that I wanted to do, like outline some new features that I wanted to do for it, update some community sections, create new circle space cover photos just to update my branding a little bit. And so here I have the timeline view where you can see the start date of when I was doing those items. So here's where I can see this would be helpful, is if you have a lot of tasks in this specific use case, if you have a lot of tasks for a specific project or sprint that you're working towards, and you want to make sure that you're not front loading them or back loading them and you have them kind of evenly spaced out. But again, it's not my favorite and I really do not use it. It's just not how my brain works. There are some settings that you can do or some customizations for this under settings. You can show the timeline by the specific date property. So you must have a date property to be able to use this view. So I'm doing it by the due date. If it had a separate start and end date, like my projects did, then you could toggle that on and it would show. It doesn't for my tasks because I just have like the one due date that it's due. You can show this table here on the left-hand side, or you can toggle it off, completely up to you. And you can also show how many properties you want to display in this view. So for now, I just have the name. I also have the status showing as well. Nope, that's for the table view. Timeline, there you go. There's two different tabs here. I just realized that. You can see how often I'm actually using this view, which is never. I'm not hating on it. It doesn't make sense to me. You can let me know how you feel about it in the comments. The next view is the calendar view. So anything that you want to see, any information that is on a traditional calendar, so meaning it does have a date property and you want it to display on a calendar view, you're going to use calendar view. Now this is not to be confused with Notion calendar. Before Notion calendar came out, which is actually, it functions as a native calendar, kind of like Google Calendar or Morgan. Some people would keep track of events and appointments and things on their calendar inside Notion, but it just didn't have quite the right functionality that a digital calendar really needs to have. So just don't get those confused. You do really want to have a separate app like Notion Calendar, or actually I really prefer Morgan for doing this because Morgan does integrate with Notion and I can use it not just for events and planning like that, but also for time blocking. But let me show you how I have used calendar view databases inside my workspace. So one of those is on my weekly planning page. I have my all tasks database, or my master task list database here showing as a calendar view. Now I love this view on my weekly planning page, and I've done a whole video about weekly planning if you want to go check that out. This is so I can make sure that I'm not overloading each day, and I can also quickly look at the energy level required and make sure that I don't have like 5 tasks due for that day. It takes so much energy for me because it's absolutely not getting done. And I want to make sure that I'm reasonable and realistic with my to-do list. So one of the things you can see here is it's not actually in a month view. This is in a week view. You can change that under the settings and layout. You can show calendar by week or show it by month. A place that I have showing this by month is actually on my content creation hub page. You can scroll down and I have here my content for my Kalyn brand, which is for this video, and also for my travel brand Open Roading. So we're really going hard on the YouTube videos and Instagram content over there, so that's why it looks a lot more full, but it's just so much easier to see when we're posting certain types of content on a calendar view like this. The next one is list view, and this is probably one of my favorite views. I mean, it's a hard toss up between list view and gallery view, which we will cover after list view, but I just love the streamlined look of a simple list of Notion pages. You generally want to use this when you don't want to see a lot of properties. So you remember back in the table view when we talked about that, you want to see a lot of different properties at a glance, so you don't have to click into the page. With a list view, it's definitely more minimalistic, and so to have a lot of properties turned on is just going to make it look a little cluttered. So let me show you how I have used list view in my workspace. On my personal dashboard page, I have a list view of all of my tasks that are due for today. Now, as you can see, kind of what I was talking about, all of these properties are kind of a little cluttered. So I've got 4 different properties turned on. It probably would look a little bit better if I said, hey, I don't actually need to see the content piece and I don't need to see the project that this is for. Now, I do like seeing them, but as you can see here, it is a lot cleaner. So that's just something to be aware of. I also have a list view on my tasks for tomorrow. So to see what's coming up tomorrow, I can quickly see that. I also have, this is my little wish list view. So if I get done with everything that I want to get done for the day, which is very rare, but does sometimes happen, I can go over to my wish list and try one of those items. I also have a list view here that is grouped by status. So that's one of the things that you can do with table view. Actually, you can do it with most of the views. You can group it by a select property. And so what I have here is I have it grouped by the category that it's in so that I can see everything that I'm doing for this week. It's filtered for this week, and I can see the due date that I need to complete it by. Again, very simple, very streamlined list. I also have this on my learning library page. So under what I call my knowledge inbox. So these are things that I want to listen to, read, or watch, things that I'm clipping, things that I don't have time to dig into right away, but I want to look over them and process them and maybe save them in my knowledge database as a whole in the archive. So I've got that list view here, and then the only property I have turned on is the status of what I need to do with that piece of content. The next view is gallery view, and again, it's really a toss-up between list view and gallery view. As you'll see in my workspace, I've got gallery view databases everywhere because I love that you can just see them aesthetically. You can see the page cover on them, as you can see on my learning library page up here that we were just on. I have all my current courses and memberships up here at the top in gallery view, so I'm just showing the page cover that I have on each of these pages. But this is for anything that you want to see in more of a block format that is in a neat row. On my personal dashboard, you can see I have my life areas up here at the top, and I actually did a whole video about life areas and how I have each of these dashboards organized, so you can go watch that if you would like. Scroll down my this week weekly notification center. Did another video on that as well. I'll link that below. That is a gallery view. When I go down to my goals and projects that I'm currently working on, that is a gallery view. So I've got gallery views like everywhere, like here on my daily journal, on my workouts, on my currently reading, like gallery views abound. But you don't just have to use gallery views and show the photo or show a picture like I have here with the book cover that I've included. I'm going to go into my content creation hub, and you can see up here I have some content pillars. So this is where I have gone into the layout and I have said, please do not show any card preview. I just want the name, and then I want the property that I have titled subtopics, so that I have the main topic of my content pillar for my brand, and then I have some subtopics that I want to talk about. And how this looks like inside here is you can see I've done subtopics, and this is like a text property that I've just done the shift and return or shift enter to get them on individual lines. But going back into those settings and in that layout, you can change the card size very similar to the board view. Again, the card preview, none. You can do the page cover, or you can do page content, so something that is like in the content of the page. If this had a media property, that would show up as well there. You can toggle off the page icon. You can wrap all the properties. So if I didn't wrap properties, you can see how they're kind of like going across the page and I can't even see everything of what I'm talking about. So when I click wrap properties, then that kind of puts them in those neat lines. So that is the gallery view. The next one is chart view. Now this is recent as of 2024. And it allows you to display your data in like a bar chart or a pie chart. It's just a really fun way to see your information organized a little bit differently. And it's also, again, a very visual database view. So I have this in my reading hub, and I'm using this in two different ways. So one, I am using it for the genres that I have read for the year. So this is a pie chart, and I'm basically saying, please show me all the genres that I've read for the year and how much of that genre I have read. So you can see I've read 8 thrillers, I've read 6 YA fictions, I've read 5 contemporary romances. I just like seeing that data. On this tab over here, I also have the source. So basically, how many books did I read this year that are part of Kindle Unlimited? This is a bar chart showing right now. How many did I borrow from the public library or have out of my home library or even borrow from a friend or listen in Audible? So there's a few different ways that you can kind of change these charts. So going into that settings and in the chart layout, you have 4 different chart types that you can choose from. And then you can decide what's going to be on the x-axis, what's going to be on the y-axis. You can change the color to have like multicolor or to be a specific color palette. There's some different style options that you can have. So there's a lot of different customization features that you can do with charts, and it's really fun to play with. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that if you are on the Notion free plan, you only have 1 chart available to you to play with. So use it wisely for how you want to organize certain information. I mean, if you have a reading hub, like I truly think this is like one of the best ways that you can do it. But if you do want access to more charts, then you can move up to the paid Notion plan, which will also open up database automations, which is really, really cool. And that brings us to the last and newest database view, which is feed view. So this is a scrollable blog style feed where you can see the information in your page without necessarily clicking into the page and pulling that page up. So let me show you what I mean in my learning library where I have been playing with this. So under my knowledge inbox, where I have that list view of everything I want to read, listen to, or watch, things that I've clipped, I also have them separated out into different views: watch, listen, and read. And each of these is showcasing the feed view. So what you can do is you have the title of the feed, you can toggle on any properties that you want to see, and then you can also just like click into that page again without opening up the page. So I could play this video right now without even opening up the page. The same thing in the to read view. So this is another feed view, and I can say see more, and I can literally just read this article without opening up the page. So that's kind of like a really cool way to use it. Other use cases that I have seen are maybe business updates. If you have a team and you have another update and you can just kind of see, scroll through a feed of all the different updates. You can use it as a change log for maybe you're making Notion templates to sell and you want people to know like what is the latest update that they have. I've also thought about using this with like daily interstitial journaling. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically you have a page open of your journal, and throughout the day you're like, hey, completed this, or went on a walk at this time, or like it's just sort of like everything that you've done in a daily journal format. I could see how that would be useful and interesting to use in the feed view. So it's still fairly new and I'm still playing with it and seeing how I want to incorporate it in other parts of my workspace, but that gives you an overview of how you would organize information in your database via the feed view. Now, really quickly, I want to go over how you can change a view. If you already have like a list view and you want to try a feed view, what you can do is you can go into that setting icon, click layout, and where you see all of those different views, you can click on gallery view or board view or chart view or feed view, and you can just play with how you want to see that information and how you think it would look best based on the information that you have to organize. You can also start a new database in any view that you want. So if you are in a block here or in a blank space and you do that / command and you do table, you can click table view. If you do gallery, you can click gallery view. If you do feed, feed view, and it'll say, hey, do you want to start with a new empty database? And this will happen for any view, yes or no. Or you could link to an existing database like, hey, I want to bring in my bookshelf here, and then you can work on, all the different filters and things. So there's definitely a lot you can play with all of these different views. I hope this gives you some good ideas on how to use each of these database views. Let me know if you have a favorite in the comments. You already know mine. I would love to know yours and how you're using it in Notion. Have you played with the new feed view? What are you using it for? I'm always looking for more use cases, and I just love that we get to share ideas and inspiration in the comments. So I will see you there. And if you want access to more charts, more specifically that database view, because they are really cool to play with, and you're not sure whether you should upgrade or not to a paid Notion plan, I actually did a whole video that dove into the nitty-gritty details of the free versus paid plan and what you get on each. So you can go watch that next and you'll figure out how to make the best choice.